Here at the Waymaker Men's Summit, we promise to bring you all sorts of interesting, exciting people to talk to, and I'm actually excited to have Isaac Keys in the building. Isaac Keys, look, they said they were going to have some folk here, and I didn't know if I was doing all these interviews or Mr. Carr was going to do them. I was like, Mr. Carr getting all the good people, but he left a good one for me this time, folks.
All right.
We got Isaac Keys in the building. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing amazing, man, and I'm just really blessed and happy to be here with you. But also this Waymaker Summit, man. Like,
Yes. What do you think so far?
What you are doing? Like, so this is the second day, and yesterday I flew in late, so I was unable to get to the first part of the summit. But this is everything I thought it was going to be. Like, meaning, and I haven't even been to the big room yet.
Okay.
So just the interaction of seeing these young men and women that are here too, but it's interaction of us just kind of being here and it's a positive environment.
Yeah.
And it just feels good to be in a power environment and to feel like the empowering one another.
Yeah, this is family. Listen, when Lewis started this, one of the things he said, and we say it often when we do our advertisements and podcasts, he's like, the purpose of Waymaker is to grow your life and change the world.
That's right.
So we're trying to create an environment where folks can learn something, they can get access to some people they don't normally get access to. So,
Sure.
These young folks, you see a lot of these high schoolers today. We got a lot of high school kids in here today.
Yeah.
They're wandering around, they're shaking hands, they're meeting folks that they don't get to have, and they don't get to be in rooms with. So that's the exciting part of it. Every time we leave here, like even me personally, every time I leave, I've been here since the beginning, it's always some tidbit. Somebody on the way out goes, I got to talk to such and such. I saw Nick Cannon in the hall, and he stopped talking to me for 5 minutes. And just that spark you see that is maybe lit a flame that will turn into something later. It's like we're doing our jobs.
Yeah, I remember those different sparks I've had, like, growing up. Back in the day, like, playing football, like my father take me to the St. Louis Cardinals back then, game, and meeting Stump Mitchell, who was a running back for that, shaking his hand. But today, I'm still talking about that.
Yeah.
I remember in my college, Robert Porcher, who was the defensive end for a long time for the Detroit Lions, coming to speak in my school at Morehouse, and then, singling me out and having a conversation with me. And then next thing you know, I'm playing in the NFL. It's just those type of things that we kind of take for granted that really is an inspiration to a lot of people, because once sometimes you reach a certain level, you don't realize the magnitude and the impression that you have on others.
Yeah.
So like this summit, I think, it gives that vision, and, it brings it back home to us to be able to be like, what? Talking to one kid I talked to before, or I was doing a mentorship at a high school in LA, and they didn't know how to tie ties. And I was teaching them how to tie ties. Yeah. He came up to me just a couple months ago. This has been probably over 4 years. And he said, "Hey, Mr. Keys," he said, "thank you, teaching me how to tie the tie." Man, I'm at a festival. I'm almost melted just because it was the fact of the gratification of saying that I helped impact somebody else's life in a positive way.
Listen, one of the things that I always say, and a lot of the stuff I got from Lewis, because Lewis is my mentor,
Sure.
He's my direct boss for years. But if you can't see it, you can't be it. A lot of this is about seeing what success looks like, seeing what opportunities are available, and then saying, hey, look, there's somebody who looks like me that's doing it.
Exactly.
It's possible.
Yep.
So once you get that, you throw it in the realms of possibility, now different wheels start to turn. Now you start to order your steps differently.
Yeah,
right?
It's infinite then at that point.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So tell me about some Waymakers in your life. Like, when you were coming up and playing football, were there any folks that you can point to, say, here's somebody that was a Waymaker for me, that impressed me and made me, like you mentioned a couple just a minute ago?
Sure. Well, that started with my father. Yeah. My father was the one that, allowed me to give me access, like you said. And, if he didn't say, hey, and be a supporter of me playing football, playing baseball, playing any sport, playing soccer, then none of this, I would have known anything about it. Right. You know what I mean? So it starts with my father, and then I think, coaches play a major part in this. Growing up having different coaches, whether they're good or bad, you still learn something from them. Yeah. And then you take something from them, and then they also teach you how to navigate and deal with certain people and their behaviors and mannerisms and personalities. Right. And I think when you start learning that, then it allows you to adapt into any room, into an environment. So a lot of coaches in a way, and that played a way. My mother as well, because I think, I think it all starts at home, man. If your parents ain't supporting you in what you're doing, then it makes it a little harder. Yeah. And then coming up from there, and then actually going to different teachers. So it's like it's a shout out to all the teachers, because they play an important role in our maturation as we grow up. Right. We spend in elementary school, we spend 8 hours with one teacher. Yeah. You know what I mean? So so that shows the way. it's just been a lot of Waymakers, that it's hard to point out to one just individually.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a journey, and, and so I just tied into parents, teachers, coaches, and then just kind of along the way, just life, man, friends,
That's awesome. So talk about the transition from playing football to acting, because one of the things that there's been a few athletes that have sat in that chair and come through here, and one of the things that is said more often than not is after they stop playing whatever sport it is they're playing, it's a moment where they have to decide or to find out who they are. Did you have that moment where you're like, man,
did I have that?
When now not playing football, or did you immediately know that you had the next thing that you wanted to do?
No, and I love that other players were saying that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't get to hear that because that's a support group in a sense. When I made the transition from football, I didn't know what the hell I was getting ready to do.
Right.
And it was like 2008, somewhere around that point where, talking about men's health and health awareness and depression, we weren't talking about that, So all we knew was to go back to the gridiron of suppress it, move on, keep going.
Suck it up.
And you can suppress some things for so long, but eventually it's going to start creeping out. Right. It's going to start seeping out, whether you start either drinking a little bit, whether you start just kind of acting out amongst your friends and doing things like that. So it was at a point of a transition where I call it actually my rock bottom. It was a tough point where I actually didn't know what to do because I was a grinder. I was an active roster practice squad, so I wasn't making big money.
Right.
I was in the league, but I didn't feel like I was in the league all the time.
Right.
So when it came to the end, it's like I'm still pressing for it. I'm still pressing for it. I'm like, I can still play. They just, but I'm 30 years old. Why they doing this? And I was bitter. I was angry.
Yeah.
So having that thought also kind of inhibited me from being able to be open-minded to what else I could possibly be doing. Because I'm still holding on to my past. So when I started kind of like looking, I was like, okay, well, what am I passionate about? And the thing we talk about with these players, because we put so much passion and been doing the game so long, it's hard to feel fulfilled doing something else.
Right.
And nobody likes to do anything half-assed as an athlete, especially.
Right.
We don't know how to do that, So it's like, okay, I can try to do personal training. I ain't making no money there. That ain't really what I want to do. I can go over here and start trying to do marketing with this, this company over here. I ain't feeling that either, man. It's like, and then your family members and your people around you, they see it. I told a friend of mine, she is dating a guy that played in the NFL. His career ended abruptly, and I already been through. And I said, it's gonna take him 3 years before he can get back to being able to acclimate it to this life outside of football. And damn sure it did.
Wow.
But me personally, it took a minute, and what I found when I found acting, because I was around some other actors.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I kind of like how they moving right now. They got they got the attention they was getting, all this type of thing. And I was like, okay, well, it seemed appealing. So, but let me see what's going on with it. So you got to get an acting class.
Right.
So I said, okay, well, there's not no acting classes in Phoenix right now where I was at in Arizona. Okay. So then I ended up going to LA and I taking acting classes. And that's when I started feeling like, okay, this is almost like therapy to me.
Right.
Like it was almost allowing me to release a lot of things that I had built up, but also I felt that passion. And the only thing, I'm crazy as hell for choosing because that's worse than trying to be a free agent in football. like I'm out here being a free agent trying to get a job in acting and something I ain't never did before. Right. I'm just doing the same thing, but the thing that football helped is the work ethic. Yeah. I knew how to work and keep practicing and keep working, keep going to acting class and continue to just work my way up. And that's how it kind of helped.
And I got two things I want to mention on that. So one is you spoke on something that's so important right now. Is basically the mental health aspect of this. A lot of folks that I've spoken to over the past day or so, and even further than that, but have been about this mission of mental health, and especially when it applies to athletes, it's like you nailed it. Is that once that thing that you've been focused on all this time is now moved, and you're in that space of you don't know what's next or who you are. A lot of folks don't know who they are without the sport. Like I am the football player now. You're not playing football. What are you doing, and how do you take care of your mental health? And that's super important, right? So from that space, how long would you say it took you to get out of that space into where you actually started to find yourself in this acting career, or not even a career, but in this journey?
Yeah.
Did it take the 3 years, like you said?
It definitely took the 3 years. It definitely took the 3 years because I was still, even though I was going to acting class and I was bouncing back from Phoenix to LA and then eventually made the transition of LA, it was like I dealt with feeling ashamed.
Yeah.
I dealt with feeling a little embarrassed because I was like, oh, I was just an NFL player, but now I'm starting completely over. And, you know, I had to get past a lot of those different things, but I think what helped me was just accepting it. It also helped me moving to LA because it was a whole different place.
Yeah.
And nobody knew who I was at that point, so I could start completely over. And that's one benefit of that. But I had to have a lot of self-check-ins for myself and also have a good support group. But I really just worked my way through the depression by continuing to work. Like whatever it may be. Like I worked as a security guard. I worked at a group home, worked the night shift so I could do auditions in the morning, you know, in the daytime. I picked up other odd jobs. I mean, I did some random security jobs. It was crazy. So I did all those things, what I call to fund the dream. Yeah. And I had a new dream. And, you know, life is wild, man. Life is weird because you look back on it and be like, well, how did I get here? Yeah. And I don't know. I wanted to do this, you know, and I wanted that so bad, but I didn't get it. But then that led me to this, you know. So the mental health aspect is that later on in life, I started learning the therapy. You know, I started reaping out. You know, we started getting benefits from the NFL and started getting therapy. And I employ anybody to try to get therapy. Make sure you have somebody you can talk to that's not just a friend, because you can't pour all that onto them because they got stuff going on. So it's like, try to find therapy. Find someone you can talk to that you can allow yourself to be able to release all the stuff that's going on with you, because a lot of times what happens is that trauma pours out, and then what happens? You see somebody who's emotionally, you know, not emotionally intelligent or emotionally explosive. And that's like a lot of things that happen in our streets and happen in crime areas because of anger, if somebody can't control their emotions. And then later on, they have to pay for it. You know what I mean?
There's always a price to pay. There's
always a price. Take care of your mental health, man.
So we got, I got to get out here shortly. We got a couple of folk, but I wanted to talk to you, have you talk about B2G Coaching and the Goals for Life, your nonprofit. I'll be remiss not to let you talk about that a bit.
Well, first of all, B2G was an organization we did 707, and it was important to me. So because we were in Los Angeles, California, and we were one of the main ones. And that was shout out to Ron Allen and Henry Bell, who started B2G. And as I started playing football, that's actually one of the things that helped me, because I was able to be able to pour that into these kids. It was a training program that we were doing on the weekends, and then we would take these kids in 707 tournaments. But also we traveled with these kids. So we had kids that never been out of South Central, never been out of Los Angeles, going to Miami, going to South Bend, going to East Chicago, play a tournament out there. I mean, we had kids that never flew before. They coming on, going through security with 2 pints of Pedialyte, thinking, "Hey, coach, can I come through with this?" Like, no, we can't do that, man. We had to get there on the other side, you know. So it was like allowing kids to not to be a product of their environment. So B2G was not just about football, even though we won a lot. We won a lot. It was just about also, you know, letting these men young kids grow into and have exposure about things. The Goals for Life was not my foundation. That was some of the foundation I was working with. That was part of the mentorship that put me into different high schools. And I spent an hour with them during the week, and I could talk about Goals for Life. Where I could talk about short-term and long-term goals. And I felt that was important because these kids just they don't even think that far ahead. You know, I mean, we have adults that don't think that far ahead. So when it came to Goals for Life and, you know, allowing them to understand, I would teach about bank accounts, like I said, tying ties, and, you know, just kind of talk candidly about life, because sometimes we be talking at these kids and not talking to them. And, you know, so that's what's important to me too.
Well, listen, I appreciate the conversation, appreciate the work you're doing. And, you know, seeing someone like you that shows that if you put in the hard work, good things do come out of it. So, you know, keep doing what you're doing, brother. Waymaker supports you. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you, bro. I appreciate you, Keith.
All right, cool. Thank you.